What's going on, everybody? So Doom Eternal just released, and you might be asking yourself one of two questions. One, is my old hardware even going to run this game? Or two, maybe you don't have any hardware and you want to know how much it's going to cost to get in. Well, I'm going to answer both of those questions for you today, along with some benchmarks. So let's get going. Some of you might be wondering what you get with the minimum system requirements. So if you go to Steam, you go to the Doom Eternal webpage, you'll see on there the minimum system requirements. And they're listing a 64-bit operating system, which everyone should be running Windows 10, so that's not going to be an issue. A Core i5 processor running at 3.3 megahertz. They don't say from what generation. And the lowest graphic card on there that they recommend is a 1050 Ti. So we're going to put that system together, we're going to run those, and we're going to see, because at the bottom it says that if you do this, you can run it at low, 1080p, 60 frames per second. So we're going to put a system together with those stats and see if we can actually pull that off, and see what happens when we raise the quality level on it and see what comes out there. So here we have all the parts that are going into this build. First off, we have the tower. It's an old Dell Optiplex 7020, and as you can see, the specs on here, this one actually came from Goodwill, has exactly what they were talking about. It's the Intel Core i5, it's the 4000 series, 4590 to be exact, and it is running at 3.3 gigahertz. It is a quad core. This one does have 4 slots for RAM, which is where these are going to be going in. So these are 2 gigs each, and then which is going to give us 8 gigs total for this system, which was in the recommendations for the minimum system requirements. Next, we have 2 hard drives. We have a Samsung SSD, 128 gigs for Windows and all of our other programs, and then we have a 1.5 terabyte Seagate hard drive, which is going in there for storage. Next, we have a 1080p HP monitor. This one is the HP 2310M. And lastly, we have a 1050 Ti. It's a 4 gig card from MSI. This is going into this build, and I use these a lot because 1, they're relatively cheap, and 2, these do not require an external power source. So when you're running an OEM tower like this, they fit wonderfully. You don't have to worry about any extra cables. And at the end of the video, once we have everything together, we'll go through everything and we'll price out these parts bit by bit. Most of what we're putting together today is a Goodwill buy, so this tower with the components that were inside came from Goodwill. The monitor, the RAM, and the 1.5 terabyte hard drive all came from there. There are some things that you cannot buy there because you cannot find them. I have never found an SSD. This I had to buy on eBay, and I've never found a graphics card that wasn't anything newer than mid-range 10 years ago. So it's almost impossible to do a complete full build for what we're doing off of Goodwill. However, most of what you can pull together very cheap from there, and they do come with some guarantees depending on what it is that you're buying. But first off, before I put everything together, I need to open this thing up, clean it out, and then we'll start the build. Alright, first off is our SSD. Now for these OEM systems like this, they all come with hard drive caddies. If for some reason you buy one of these and this isn't in there, you can pick them up on eBay. But in order for it to fit in there, I also had to buy a tray off of eBay to bolt the hard drive to that so it would fit in here. Next, we're going to get our 8 gigs of RAM in. And as I was looking at this motherboard, even though this is one of those business systems that they don't expect people to mess around with, I find it very funny that they actually have the 4 slots numbered and numbered correctly, staggered, so that people make sure they put the right RAM in the right spots. It's actually pretty cool. And lastly, we're going to get our GTX 1050 Ti from MSI card in there. when I was cleaning this thing out, you would not believe the amount of dust. It was unnerving. All right, connect a couple cables and we should be good to go. Oh my God, this has been fighting me. It's a couple days later. I had some issues along the way. So first, the hardware. After I got everything set, I also put in a larger hard drive for the games aside from the SSD. And when I tried to fire up the computer, it booted up. Everything physically looked fine, but nothing happened. There was no display. So I tried a couple different monitors, tried a couple different graphic cards, I tried a couple different RAM configurations and hardware, and I also swapped out the battery on the motherboard. And now it's working. All the hardware that I originally used is the same. The only thing different is the battery, but I don't know if the display not coming through, and this was the monitor that I originally tried it on too. I don't know if the display not coming through was actually a battery issue or some combination of all of those factors, but it took hours of troubleshooting and finally it started up, Windows is installed, and we're good now. The second issue I was having is that I have MSI Afterburner up and I forget the name of the program, it's the statistics server that displays it on screen. So had Doom Eternal installed, was playing, and in the intro when it shows, Bethesda and all of that, you saw the stats up there, but as soon as the game started, they all disappeared. So I went on to Steam, the forums there, and I went into that, changed some things, not in the script, but like through Notepad, changing some of the properties and things like that, and now some of the values that I'm trying to display on screen in the game are there, but not everything is showing up. So it's only half the information that I'm looking for. However, Doom Eternal does have its own stats that you can apply. So when we go through the gameplay, what I am able to pull up on MSI Afterburner will be on the left, and then Doom Eternal's own statistics will be playing on the right. So between those two metrics, we should get a clearer view of what this hardware can actually run in the game. So that being said, let's play some Doom.
I gotta sing the Doom song now. Doom, 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 doom.
All right, so as we get started, you're going to see that under Video and Advanced, the overall quality is set to low. That's because when we looked at the minimum system requirements, we should be getting 60 frames per second at 1080p on low with these settings. So we're going to jump into the game, we're going to pull some mobs, and we're going to see what happens. For those of you that have played the game already, you can see I'm not too far in. So if you can see the stats well, starting over on the left, you're going to notice, sorry, I have to pause, I love those. You're going to notice that our frames per second right now is at 50, 53, 52. But you're also going to notice that our RAM is not being fully utilized, our CPU is barely being utilized, and even our GPU is only in the 70 percentile. Like, it's not, we're not even maxing that out, and I don't know why. I'm not sure if it has something to do with the initial settings, because I haven't gone in and tried to overclock anything. I haven't gone in and changed much aside from what you initially saw, setting the overall quality. Oh, I'm stuck in the corner. Setting the overall quality to low. So I'm not sure why the graphic card, which is one that I've used a lot, isn't maxing out. Even when you look at the right side, frames per second are still bouncing around in the 50s. So I realized watching a video of a game, there's going to be some things lost in translation. So let me just say that gameplay feels smooth even at frame rates in the 50s. Visually, it's beautiful. It's a very good, very polished, very optimized game. So you should have no problem running this at low hardware. As far as why I can't get all of my Afterburner stats up, there's still some bugs to work out there. And why the GPU, even sitting idle right now, is sitting at 67, 69%. And in gameplay, I don't think it hit 75% usage at all. So why we're not maxing out the GPU in order to get the frames up on low settings, I'm going to have to take a look. This is my out-of-the-box experience, so to speak. Not that Steam uses boxes, but you know what I'm saying. So getting in, getting the hardware, installing the game, and playing it, this is what I'm experiencing without trying to overclock, without messing with too many settings. This is me installing the game and playing it with this hardware. So you can assume that your experience would be relatively the same. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope that this helped you and gave you some information along the way to see if your hardware can run this game, and if so, what it's going to be like for you. If you are running these settings or even anything higher, I'd recommend it. It is very playable. It's a fun game. It's worth the money. So yeah, if you have these specs, go for it. You're going to be fine. But that's it. I'm going to end it here so I can actually go and enjoy this game, because the little bit that I've played so far is fun, and it's my day off. I just want to do this today. So thank you, have fun, self-quarantine, social distance, play games, and I'll talk to you again soon. Later.